I'd like to welcome everybody to the third night of debates for Nelson County Fiscal Court. This is a great time for you guys to ask questions of your magistrates or potential magistrates, and it's really important because these races, this is one of 5 people that can help shape how Nelson County moves forward. So I hope you ask questions that even if you're a little scared to ask a question, don't be scared. This is what this forum is for you to ask questions. Anyway, I'd like to thank both you guys for coming. I'd like to start out with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, where's Kenny Downs? Can you want to bring the point up and flip for us?
Let me mention this while you're doing that.
Oh,
Okay, if you want to.
I'll do it.
Okay, oh, okay, that's fine, that's fine.
Ready? Somebody? Heads. Call heads? Yeah. It is heads.
It's
Start over.
your choice.
Make sure you hear me okay?
Oh, it's fine.
Go ahead.
You guys ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we talk a lot here.
Yeah, I know. My name is David Avis. I was born and raised in Bardstown, Kentucky. My parents were James Cripps Avis and Evelyn Yoakum Avis. I am a family of 12, 6 boys and 6 girls. I am married to Regina Avis, 40 years. We have 5 adult children, David, Brandy, Robbie, Matthew, and Sarah. I have lived in my district for 50 plus years. I lived on Dump Hill, Maple Hill, and Hubbard's Lane.
Hold on 1 second.
Sorry.
Go ahead, speak up. Hold a little closer.
Okay. I've stayed within a distance of 4 miles of where I was born. Right now, I volunteer for Feed America, the Bread of Life. I currently sit on a PVA Tax Appeals Board for the Nelson County for 6 years. I've attended more fiscal court meetings than all the opponents put together. I've been involved in youth sports and as Nelson County Little League and developmental basketball for over 15 years. I'm retired from American Fuji Seal after almost 30 years of service.
Hold the microphone up.
I am a past employee of the Nelson County Road Department. I am the owner of Avis Home Rentals for over 35 years. I have a background in construction, city sidewalks, retaining walls, water and sewer line construction at Fort Knox. And my page is sticking together. I'm well versed in understanding blueprints, also framing houses. With this background, I will be able to vote on fiscal court matters with the knowledge I bring to the table. I understand firsthand about budgets and how to run a successful business. I am a member of the St. Joe Catholic Church. I attended St. Joe Grade School. I graduated from Bardstown High School. I took 2 years of welding at Nelson County. I've learned a lot of trades such as welding, masonry, concrete, heavy equipment operator, plumbing, electric, etc. And that's my opening statement. Thank you.
Thank you guys for having me, and thank you for putting this on. My name is MT Harned. I was born and raised in Nelson County in New Haven. I went through 2 Catholic grade schools. St. Catherine's where I started, and then finished up my grade school at St. Anne's in Housetown. Then went to Bethlehem High School for 4 years, graduated in '88, and I married my high school sweetheart, Bobby Harned, who's Bobby Roby Harned, in '90. We've been married 32 plus years. We have 3 wonderful kids. Brooke Harned, who is a teacher at New Haven Elementary, been there for 4 years. Trey is my general manager at Bud's Produce and has been there for probably 6 years now. Feels like a lifetime to him, he says. And Cruz, who is 21 years old and is a junior at UK as a biomedical engineer. After college, after I graduated Indiana University, I graduated with a Bachelor of Science in Business. I have a major in Finance, pursued to be a financial advisor, was still in 92 to get sales experience. I spent 3 years here in Barstown as a produce salesperson, was very successful, came out of that to pursue my career as a financial advisor. I was a financial advisor for 5 years, did very well, and in 2002 purchased into Bud's Produce in Elizabethtown. In 2006, I was able to purchase 50% of the company, and by 2011, I purchased 100%. 9 years later, I purchased with my wife, Loretta Fogle. I operate both of those businesses on budgets, and I'm very proud to say that one of the last produce-only companies in Kentucky. Also, combined with my work ethic, which is second to none, my character, high level of integrity, and my desire to see Nelson County succeed gives me a distinct advantage on my resume for magistrate. Someone who needs to be a good steward of the money that we pay for. It's our taxes. What you need to look for is someone who's actually going to take care of that money and spend it wisely. This is why I'm the right person at the right time for all the right reasons. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. So one of the things that I've heard over and over again about Nelson County is the citizens don't have a voice. Last year, the Nelson County Fiscal Court removed their public comment section. Most governments allow 3 minutes per person on any subject matter that is covered by that entity. So say any government, county government issue, you get 3 minutes to discuss in a public session. Would you pledge at this time to bring that back? And the second part is, do you feel that, are you representing the people of your district, or do you think you're sent there to represent your views, or are you sent to represent their views? Thank you.
Thank you. I 100% will pledge to bring back the public comment section, making sure that it's in a structured format, meaning that they need to, just like you had up here, sign a piece of paper, that's whatever structure that is that the court comes up with. I'm 100% for that. Second part of your question is, do I represent my views, or do I represent the views of the 3rd District, or do I represent the views of Nelson County? It's pretty clear. I didn't come here to represent my views. I came here to represent the views of 3rd District being first, and that incorporates the Nelson County views as well. So Nelson County is my home. It's where my kids are deciding to live. They're one of the main reasons that I chose to run, was that I've been involved in their life. And so, yes, representing other people's views is what I do, and I don't try to force my views on anyone.
I definitely have to be on the agenda, and it's for the people, by the way. And yes, I do believe in public comment, if it's based on what a magistrate does, of course. So I'm all for it, and I hope they do it, because a lot of people want to be heard. A lot of people don't want to speak out in front of other people because they're nervous just like I am, and they don't want to come up to a podium and ask the question. I think it'd be nice if they could write the question, and then they can get an answer for sure. But a lot of people just don't want to speak out loud, and they have issues that they want to bring forth, and that's where they need to come to their magistrate. First of all, there's a protocol. They need to go to the magistrate, and then if they don't like the right answer, then they can go to the judge. He's got open door policy, but I'm all for that.
I know y'all heard the first 3 magistrate debates, and I'm trying to mix it up a little bit so it's not the same questions over and over. So this one's just a little different than any of them we've asked before. But been out, I assume, going door to door, putting up yard signs, visiting with voters in your district. What does your district look like? I mean, what is so unique about the 3rd District, Boston, Nelsonville, New Haven? Tell us a little bit about your district and what you've learned over the years, and maybe what you just learned during the campaign.
David?
I've learned that every house you go to, probably, you gotta be careful because there's a dog going to either bite you or bark at you or don't like you. And maybe they do that so they don't want to see us coming door to door, knocking on the door. But I put a lot of cards, ink pens on everybody's door. no matter what your affiliation and your party is. I guess the other thing is, I live on the west end of Barstown. And what we have out there, we have things that other people don't want. And that's the landfill. We have the rock quarry. We have dump trucks. We have IMI concrete trucks. We've got a lot of traffic on Boston Road. Of course, it's rural, still a beautiful place to live, but some of the things that I see out there, and especially in Boston, they're kind of left behind. They don't have a park down there. They don't have anything for kids, grandmas or grandpas to go. They either have to go to school and use their playgrounds. They're just kind of left out of the mix. So if that's the question you're asking me, that's basically what I see. We need a little bit more down there in that area. How you doing?
That gives you 30, when I do this, you have 30 seconds
You're cool.
left.
I understand.
So what the county looks like to me is very diverse. In Boston, it's very rural. People do not want it to grow. And explaining to them, the growth, they don't want their, land to be taken away. People move there for the rural part of the county. And I understand that big time. And the county can't really grow in downtown Boston or even our surrounding town because of the floodplain. So I try to educate and help them understand that the major roads and major developments probably won't be coming. They are concerned about the burden. A lot of people, we talk about the burden tax leaving, a lot of people want the burden to leave. The warehouses are a nuisance to a lot of the close families that have houses around that. It's amazing to me the difference that you get in Boston and you move into town. Of course, people like the smell of burden. They're used to it. They treasure that as part of Nelson County. And so it's our job to really understand each individual's concern. And it's not about expressing what I like best. It's about listening to each one and bringing that to the board and bringing that to the people that can make a difference in their lives. And so that's what I plan on doing.
Thank you, gentlemen. So the second district is actually pretty expansive. It goes all the way from Boston, third goes from all the way from Boston all the way back to behind Dairy Queen to Busy Bee. When talking to these people, what do you find, I know you guys both have been going door to door, what do you find is the number one, or the most asked questions or the biggest hot topic that you have been asked about, and what would you plan to do to solve it?
Again, depending on where you're located, the number one topic I think in town, when I'm door to door talking to young families, it has to do with what's there to do for kids. We have to do something. And I understand that concern. If you live in a 2-bedroom, a 3-bedroom with 1 bath, and you have 1, 2, or even 3 children, you're looking to do something with your children. I think the best thing that we can do for our children and for people that are in that need is to incorporate and engage with our local schools, our local middle schools. And whether it's a sports complex, or whether it's a playground, or whether it's a splash park, getting those people who are in touch with these kids and what they need. I stopped by a guy's house and we talked 40 minutes about the YMCA. This guy's just amazing of how much he's dedicated to the YMCA. And I'm not sitting here telling you that you have to have YMCA. He's telling me it doesn't have to be a YMCA, but this is an option. And it doesn't have to be great big. People throw out numbers of $50 million. It doesn't have to be that. It can start small and have a 10-year plan to grow into what the county can afford and will afford for these kids. That's the number one in town. When you get out of town, it's the dump trucks, it's the safety. They don't see sheriffs and police cars patrolling and stopping and slowing these trucks that are dangerous to their livelihoods. And so that's been a big topic, especially in Boston Road going through Boston. And so that's.
I guess one of the biggest things that I hear mostly is too much taxes, especially for people that's on Social Security. They're scared of this abatements on the liquor tax. that if it goes away, they're gonna have to find the money somewhere, which I really don't think that's gonna happen. Because I did go to Frankfurt Friday, and from the talk up there, it just seems like that if they pass that bill, then the state's gonna have to make the money up. So they definitely don't want it coming out of their budget. So I don't think that's gonna happen. But mostly, people that are on fixed incomes, I always thought when I retired, because I paid Social Security, I paid Medicare, Medicaid, and I always thought, well, and when I retire, I'll have insurance like Medicare or Medicaid. But I found out that when I retired early at 62, and then started on the Medicare, that I was paying $150 out of my check, what little Social Security it was, and then I had to pay for a supplement, which is another $150. So when you take $300 out of your Social Security, a lot of people just barely getting by. So the biggest thing was a guy that asked me, he was 85 years old, he says, "Do you think I ought to pay a school tax?" I said, "No, and I shouldn't have to pay them either at 65. So I felt that way too about the school tax. There's just too much taxes for people on fixed income. So that's what I hear when I'm going door to door.
Thank
Not
you.
so much about traffic.
All right, well, if you go and talk to the county attorney, or you go talk to the sheriff's department, or you talk to the health department, EMS, you talk to just about anybody, and especially the jailer, they're going to tell you the number one reason people are in jail is drug use. We've got a terrible drug use problem in Nelson County. And I know we've tried the needle exchange program, we've tried the Narcan programs. Is there anything fiscal court can or should be doing to address this issue, or is this something that's beyond our control?
Whoever's got the microphone.
Well, I think they definitely need help, for sure. That's a big topic for people that do take drugs. And they do have rehab places to send them to. I think the county does pay some of that. Isaiah House is one, and some others. It's definitely a sickness. It's a chemical imbalance for some people that they choose to do it. I think you gotta help yourself, first of all, before you can get help. You gotta want it. You choose your path, I think, and how you want to live. So, as far as fiscal court, I think their hands are tied on what they can contribute to that illness. It's a bigger picture.
So the drug use in every community is pretty epidemic. And it's a serious problem that fiscal court needs to take very seriously, not so much to get involved, but to take the jailer's recommendations, and look at those, help it with advising of what might be the best and most efficient way to keep not only the inmates safe, but to keep our staff safe within these jails. And if that's a scanner, I've talked with Mr. Jailer, Mr. Bucksnavel, and talked about the scanner. That's one way to make sure we keep things out. There's a vast needs at our jail. And having someone to be able to sit down with, understand and prioritize those spending, because everybody knows that we just can't go spend $20, $30 million on a new jail and have everything brand new. But we can also start with our budget and live within that budget and prioritize what needs to be spent first in order to keep our people, on the safe side. And the same with EMS. EMS has, a budget that comes up with a shortfall, but we need to make sure that we are supporting that and make sure we're helping them on an advisory role as part of the fiscal court in order to understand what they bring, to the help of that, relief of that, the epidemic of the drug use, and to keep everyone safe.
All right, so the question of sheriff's pay has been a hot topic at the fiscal court. Perhaps you were here earlier when I mentioned that Bullitt County has recently put out several ads that are starting out for 1-year laterals at, I think it was like $54,000 or $56,000. What is your take on that, and what would you do if you agree that that's a problem? What would you do to fix it? If you don't think it's a problem, could you explain that?
I need about 2 hours. This problem's not just with the sheriff's department, this problem's across our state. Our state did away with our retirement program. So now people, when they work for the county, are in tiers, and if you're not in one of those top 2 tiers, your retirement program dwindles pretty quickly. My daughter is part of that lower tier, so I understand that point blank. So to be a teacher and to make, $40,000, can you make money elsewhere? It is a competition. It's a race to the top. I commend our sheriff to making sure his deputies are paid fairly. It's my job as a magistrate to make sure that they are very competitive pay, that there's no holes in that at all, meaning that we make sure that the sheriff department and the surrounding counties aren't targeting our sheriffs. And maybe we need target raises on people that, that are being targeted. Maybe that's the part, creating a better workplace. Sheriff does a great job of that. So it's not about our one department having trouble. He's just brought the light to the problem overall, our whole county. Our fiscal court is going to see this across the board, and it's going to be our job to respond to that. And how we respond to that in a fiscal responsible way will entail whether our city maintains and retains valuable employees that if we don't reach, because quickly we're going to reach, and we're already there, what the distilleries are paying, because we're fighting for those employees everywhere. And more people and more companies are coming if we can get this county to go. And that, we have to grow a little bit in order to have another revenue stream.
I guess the question is the pay issue on the sheriff's department. Like I said before, we talk about all the employees with the county, it's about 170. Everybody go giving raises. I think we all choose our career and where we want to go and what we want to do. Actually, I worked 2 jobs for 18 years on 3rd shift at Fuji, and also had I would flip houses, construction. So I never relied on one income. And all the jobs are hazardous, a lot of them are. But the sheriff and the whole county did get a 7% raise, and that might not sound like much, but it's a pretty good raise depending on what you make an hour. So it's based on you make more an hour, and you get 7%, you make more than the other guy does. But I've got a breakdown on Nelson County, Bardstown, Mount Washington, Bullitt County, Shepherdsville, Shively, LMPD, and St. Matthews. Now you take your years of service across here, so if you've been there longer, of course you're going to make more. Just on average for Nelson County Sheriffs, and I'm just going to do one of these top ones here, it's about $28, $29 an hour with the cliff pay, and that's hazardous duty pay, it's $2. So you've got to deduct that from what I'm saying is 28, so actually make 26 plus the 27. So you got Bardstown makes 29 in that category an hour. Mount Washington makes 22.84. Bullitt County makes 28.51. Shepherdsville 24.48. Shively 27.32. LMPD 28.26. St. Matthews, kind of a private police, they make about $37. So, that being said, I don't know if anybody wants to leave Bardstown, being a police officer, and going to Louisville in a high crime area. My time is done.
All right, I'm going to ask one more question before we turn it over to the audience. We've got a few questions that's already listed here. If somebody else wants to add to it, please let us know. I've been involved in politics most all my life, so it's always fascinating to me when somebody else gets involved, because everybody's got a different reason as to why. And at some point in their life, something triggered them. So at some point during the last year or so, you all decided to go from a private citizen to sign those papers to run for public office, which I know was not easy, because you make yourself a target of criticism, you make yourself a target of a lot of things, because every word you say will be judged. So what stimulated you at some point in the last year or so to sign the papers to run for magistrate?
It wasn't last year. It's been a lot of years ago. Like I said, I worked at Fuji, and I was sitting there one day, and I was looking at my pay stub, and I noticed all the deductions that were coming out of it. And what hit me was county had occupational tax. They passed it $75 for a year, and that's not too bad. We can handle that. And then all of a sudden, I see a tax comes, another occupational tax that the city passed, 0.5%. They exempted people that made $1 to $15,000, and exempted the people who make over $100,000. Okay, so that generates some good income. Now all of a sudden, they said, well, let's just take the cap off, and we'll just go to 1%. Of the people that made $1 to the 15,000, so they started charging them 1% across the board, and they took the cap off. So there's about 1,400,000 on the occupational tax that the county imposed, and then the city, all of a sudden, they're getting $6 million on occupational tax. So I'm thinking, okay, I work out here and I live in the county. What am I getting for my occupational tax? What am I getting back from it? I don't get any amenities at all from the city. So I was troubled by that. And so, like I said, I looked at my pay stub, and if you make $1,000, you may be taking home 680 or somewhere in that neighborhood. But everybody's chipping away at the paycheck, at your paychecks. So I decided, well, I want to get involved just to see where all the money's going, how it's taken out of your check. Like I say, people on fixed income. Is that a wave?
That's the end.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm gonna do like this to give you 30 seconds, and then I'll do like the fist is the
I
end.
feel you.
Well, mine wasn't 6 years ago or 8 years ago. Mine started right after Christmas. I was the last one to file. I was a concerned citizen. This is my second reason, of course, but this is when it all started in my brain. I was a concerned citizen. We're losing to retirement for Dean Watts, Bernard Ice, almost 60 years of experience, of conservative experience leading the court. And I was truly moved by, I've got to find somebody to vote for. And when I looked across the three candidates on the Republican side, and I looked across the two on the Democratic side, my opinion was that person needed to be very financial, needed to have financial education, a financial background, financial experience, business experience. And I didn't see enough of that compelled me to that I needed to vote for somebody. I went and asked my wife, I said, this is what we're up against, you think I need to run? And she said, what in the world does a magistrate even do? And then I told her it was 95 to 99% money related. It's about spending our money. You're electing someone to a financial position. And I have an extensive background in finance. And I felt like I was confident and very well astute to be able to spend not only our money as a family and as operating two businesses and giving advice to when I was a financial advisor, I felt like I could give back and help the community in this transition. And I've heard, going forward, that a lot of people are wanting to know change, but I believe change is going to be a good thing for this court. The number one reason, my three kids, two of them are deciding to reside right here in the county. And I've got one in college, and I hope he chooses to come back to District 3 as well.
Right, thank you, John. Our first public question is from Sherry Ballard.
Good evening. We've touched on this subject before, so just bear with me, but mine is a question about the sheriff's department. And I know, Mr. Avis, you said that you don't think any of them's going to leave to go to a high crime.
I didn't say that.
Okay, well,
No, I
I'm
didn't say
sorry.
that. Here, I
What
didn't
did you
say
say? I'm sorry. I thought you said
No, I said as far as the
leave.
pay, I said as far as the pay scale, they're all in comparison together. There's not a big difference. I I said, I don't know if anybody in Bardstown would be a police officer that wouldn't go to a high crime area
Yes,
for a few
okay.
more dollars, even driving down there and that sort of thing. But that's,
Okay.
that's what I said.
Okay, well, that's what I meant.
Okay.
But my question is, like, for me, the sheriff's department is very important for me
Absolutely.
because I want them to be better. And with me, I know several of the officers have left because I know even some of them have went to the city of Washington because they pay more. I kind of don't understand why there's a difference between the city and the county. But my question is to you, on a scale of 1 to 10, how important is it to you for the sheriff's office to get a raise?
You asking me?
Well, he's asking both of us, right? Yep. Are you directing it to him or to
To
both?
both of you. Both of you can answer if you don't mind.
No. On a scale of 1 to 10, it's 100, and it can go infinity. Without sheriff's department being fully funded, and not only fully funded, having the capacity to be very competitive and even over-competitive. So if Bardstown's chief is targeting our officers, it's our chief's job to find out why and how to stop it and come to the court. And not a committee. I'm not informed of 3 people making this decision. The court needs to make the decision on what's best for the financial situation of our sheriff's department, with the lead being our sheriff. And trust me, he's boots on the ground and ready. And so with the leadership of the new court, I feel highly confident that we will come not only to succumb to being second in our county, to being even and even ahead where other counties and other police officers that are close to us will look to us as, you know, somewhere to come to.
Yes, and I know that y'all touched on the subject of drugs. And I know in this town, I mean, I love Bardstown. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying I don't. But I know anywhere you live, there's a lot of drugs and crime going on. But for me, it's been a lot to go through. So making sure we have a good sheriff and city department is very important for me, for safety. So it's just a very important question for me.
And it's not about the county sheriff's department being against the Bardstown City Department. It's really about working together with them to see if we can combat that problem same and help.
I agree 100%.
That's really what it's about.
I think Raymond Panaroa, I asked him how to say his last name, by the way. It's Panaroa.
Panero?
Panaroa. He is definitely one of the best sheriffs that I've ever met in my life. And I think his wife is my wife's cousin too. So it's not like, you know, everybody's kin in Bardstown. We try to watch what we say about our kinfolk. But I do think he's the greatest. There's no doubt about that. And I'm not playing this underhanded or anything like that. I'm just going by the numbers. And everybody wants the pay raise, of course. When he goes to bat for his people, he's passionate about it, very passionate about it. And I think all the department heads in the county should be passionate as he is. So if the question is, do I think he's a 10? Absolutely, I do. So I'm not trying to undermine that. I'm just
No,
going
and
by the
I'm
numbers.
talking about Raymond.
I'm just going by the numbers and the pay scale that's given to me by fiscal court, which I checked it all out, and I definitely want to be right about the numbers, and that's why I have my notes, because I just don't want to do it off my subconscious. So I'm just trying to be prepared.
Was your question originally about the scale 1 to 10 about pay raise?
Yes.
Yeah, I think it wasn't about raise, it was about pay raise, 1 to 10. How much would you prioritize?
Well, I thought she was asking me about the sheriff's department and
No,
the sheriff, but
no,
it's a 1 to 10 on what I felt about scale instead of a 10.
Well, no, I was not talking about the sheriff's department. I meant like as far as giving them a raise so they don't lose officers.
Well, we got, all total, we got 60 police officers in the city and the county, okay? So, I mean, I understand the difference in sheriff and the city and the county, I understand that, but they ain't going very far if they go to the city. They're just going right over next door. And I know they got other duties to perform. Sheriff's Department serves a lot of papers.
So let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
I'm not going
You're
very
pretty
far,
straight.
we're going to the city, but what happens if all of them leave and want to go to the city? Where does that leave the sheriff's department?
That's a hypothetical question, but I don't think that's going to happen. But if there is a big pay scale that tells them that they go for the money, and they're passionate about
That's
the
my
job.
point.
Yeah, they go for the money for sure. But I think we have to retain our officers. There's no doubt about that. And all of our employees. There's a lot of, even the county employees. Okay, time up? Sorry.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Just a follow-up to that, so I live in the county, northernmost part of Nelson County, and I have never once seen a Bardstown City Police anywhere near, and which they shouldn't be, I mean, I guess unless they're backing up the county, but I do know that our sheriff's department handles a lot of calls within the city of Bardstown, because the city of Bardstown, well, there's a lot of theories behind that, but I do think that we should appreciate what our county sheriff does, because it's a very large area and it's very spread out.
Okay.
Next question is to Keisha.
Good evening again, yay. Okay, thank you guys for running, really appreciate that. I have a two-part question. I'm gonna get off the sheriff's station. I wanna know, what will you do about, the issue that we have with recreation in our community? I know a lot of people say that, you know, it's private, that should be on the private sector. But as a magistrate, what are your thoughts and what are your suggestions that you would bring forward for a family atmosphere here in Bardstown? And I love the burger community. I love the burger community, okay? But has anyone ever thought about reaching out to KDA? Because I know that they have their what they want to say is, you know, they don't want to do things with the kids. But isn't there a workaround, or would you think there's a workaround where you could work with the distilleries to have these buildings that were needed, you know, for functions such as a sports recreation or aquatic or what have you? Is there anything on your agenda when you go to the magistrates, go to be a magistrate, that would help that family atmosphere, bring back that family atmosphere?
Well, I'm a big fan of youth and something for them to do. I know when I was coaching Little League Baseball, after they turned 12 years old, after they turned 13, there was nothing for them to do. So I actually implemented a pony league, which the 13-year-olds could travel with us and play ball. So that being said, there's really nothing for kids to do in Bardstown, as we know. We talk about splash parks, putt-putt. You got to go somewhere else to do all this. Aquatic center. I think the multi-sports complex, the city is working hard and trying to bring that out and make it happen. And they work off of municipalities. They make money. The county don't make money. They just survive with their tax base on real estate and liquid tax, of course. So I think you can ask for public donations. You can ask for the bourbon industry to put in on some of these aquatic center or whatever you may for old and young. But it seems like you have to go out of town just for your little kids to have something to do. And we have to have incentives for business to give back to the city and the county. It's really a city and county issue. It's not just the county. So I guess I've answered that.
The issue for the things to do for children come up quite a bit. And I can be the first magistrate that, everybody talks about here, talks about kicking the can. In my first 60 days, I'm going to reach out to community leaders, not just in this town, because this town doesn't have any, not community leaders, they don't have any facilities. I said that. Doesn't have any facilities for our kids. Elizabethtown, which I'm in every day, has some wonderful parks. They have wonderful activities. It's a much bigger town, much bigger city, much bigger tax base. So understand where that money comes from. These aren't government owned, but they are private owned. I will reach out to the private and the industry people that are in that industry and find out what it takes to make that happen. I will get to the nuts and bolts of the numbers. I will bring that to the court for the magistrates and the judge to chew on, and we will get this ball rolling again in some form or fashion. We have a lot of bright people, such as what's involved in our school districts. We have a lot of bright people that have been involved in the YMCA in the past. So we have a lot of ideas of what this can look like, but nobody wants to start it. Nobody wants to be the lead guy. I volunteered to be that lead guy. Nobody's more sports-minded than me. Coaching everything from 4-year-old soccer that I knew nothing about to finishing coaching bass fishing for Bethlehem High School as my son graduated. So I'm not scared to take on any new projects, and the sports complex doesn't scare me a bit.
Next is Jonathan Martin.
I still have 30 seconds. This is the end, just to look at it.
Howdy.
Howdy.
So my question relates to property owners and, My question relates to property owners and their rights. Living here in Nelson County, I live in the county and amongst the farmland, okay? I still feel like my hands are shackled as a property owner. I own a business. My wife and I we own a small business, and we employ about 7 people. And right now, our situation is we have to come to Bardstown, where we rent a storage building to house our lawnmowers. And I can't bring those lawnmowers out to my house in the county and store them in my shop and have my employees come to my house and pick them up first thing in the morning and go out in amongst the county and mow grass. I don't understand why that is. I bought and paid for that piece of ground. I always thought whenever I was growing up as a kid, that whenever I bought something, this is America, we're free, we can do with it what we want within good taste, of course. Obviously, I'm not going to build a skyscraper full of, what's the storage containers we talked about earlier. So, within good taste. I don't see where it would hurt anything. I've got, just shy of 2 acres out in amongst farmland, like I was saying. What would be y'all's opinion on giving the rights back to the property owners to allow them to let them do with the property what they want to do with it? Like I say, within good taste.
The key word there you have, I'm assuming, is good taste. Good taste to 100 different people is 100 different things. I think if you're out in the county and you have a confined building that you want to store your lawnmowers and have a home business, it's a struggle. Having 7 employees is a struggle. I have 37. I understand the headaches that come with that. And the mowing and getting your job done on a daily basis and taking care of those families. They're dependent on you. So my opinion would be if it's done in good taste and in a confined area to where the doors close and lock, because I know you're not going to leave them out for somebody to take. I don't understand why myself, but I know one thing that I would do tomorrow morning. I'd be making phone calls to find out myself for you and making sure that gets resolved. I can't promise the answer that you would like, but I would fight for you because I feel that pain and I understand it. If I'm allowed to park trucks outside my warehouse in the middle of E-Town, you should be able to park lawnmowers inside your garage.
Well, I think it really depends on the zoning and where you're at, of course. And you can go get that zoning or apply for it. There's a process to do it, and I don't see any reason why you wouldn't or shouldn't. And if you need to park your lawnmowers there, I don't see a problem with it. It's just part of Nelson County being pretty tight on zoning, which is probably too tight. And that's something I would love to do, is sit on that committee, because I want to read this little thing here, what we actually supposed to be doing as a magistrate, and it pertains to what you're talking about. And I wrote this. But as a magistrate will be responsible for setting policy, enacting ordinances, approving the budget, and voting on all fiscal matters which pertain to a variety of direct and indirect county services, including public safety, parks and recreation, and human services. That's what a magistrate does, and that's what I want to do. Am I good?
All right, next up is Amanda Shanks.
Hello, gentlemen. This is the easy part. You can smile now. We're all friends here. I don't feel like you get a lot of time during debates to talk about things that are most important to you. So my question is, of the proposed budget requests and changes, and I know that the budget is broken, so we'll say in a perfect world, if you could pick one thing that you have heard out of talking to people while you're running this election and things that you've researched on your own, if you could pick one thing that was the most important thing you wanted to happen with the budget this year, what would it be?
Well, we're talking about raises for the employees, for sure, to retain good employees. There's no doubt about it. Because if they can make more money, say at Fuji Seal, that's where they're going to go. They go where the dollar goes. I think we have to retain our employees. It's in the budget to give them raises. I got no problem with that at all. Actually, I did have a chart here on our county employees have probably not been paid enough through the years to be where they need to be right now. But just right off the cuff, I'll tell you, they've got a 1.8% raise. This is about a 12-year period. The biggest raise I think they got was like it was 2.3 maybe. And when they give them 7% this time, it made it about 2.48. At Fuji Seal, we always got a 3, and a 4. So they're behind the Q bar or the 8 bar, or whatever you want to call it, for sure. So if we can get to that and retain our employees, I think that's where the money needs to go. Thank you.
In a perfect world, there's endless money supply. In this world, we don't have that perfect world. But in a perfect world, I agree that it is 100% funding our police force. And to the T, to where people are navigating from the distilleries, from other counties, and wanting to come to Nelson County to be a part of that. That's a perfect world. You asked me to pick one department. I've got, what goes along with that is what David said. Everybody is going to want their raise. So in that perfect world, everybody would be maxed out on pay, plenty, and we would have a job that everybody would love to have. That's the perfect world picture.
Bill Chuckles?
I have one more question. Is it okay? Or I can give it to Bill.
No, go ahead, real quick.
Are you sure? I'm sorry, Bill. I'm very sorry. So before I ask this question to them, I do want to make sure that it is in their capability as a magistrate to answer the question, and if not, you can cut me off. So Airbnbs in the county and limiting that number, is that up to the fiscal board?
That's planning and zoning. Most of that's involved in the city. I don't know of any county Airbnb.
Yeah, you can go ahead and ask that question.
So
I'm just saying she has.
So counties could potentially have a limit. Ours does not, right?
No, not that I know of.
Okay.
Not from the fiscal court standpoint.
Okay, so is it okay? Can I
Yeah,
ask
of
a
course.
question?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. So we do not have a policy now, but we do have a young generation of people that want to continue to live in Nelson County. I've heard a lot of people tonight say that their grandparents were raised here, and my grandparents were raised here, and my family owns properties here, and they had farms here, and I would like to think that I can continue that legacy, but because of the large and growing number of Airbnbs in Bardstown, because everybody wants to see bourbon right now, people are being priced out of their homes and can't afford their property taxes. So young people can't afford to buy these homes, and older people can't afford to keep those homes. So do you believe there should be a cap on people that are capitalizing on the bourbon industry and having these Airbnbs to make a profit when it's pushing people out of their homes?
So the city did pass an ordinance, and they made a 400-foot radius of where you could have a Airbnb. So that pretty much closed the city down, unless your zoning allows you to, like in downtown Bardstown. So if your zoning says, like the stores downtown, keep them vibrant, they have to have Airbnb or rental over top of it. So it basically is about free enterprise. If it works, it works. If it don't, then you can always rent it back out yearly. Now, that being said, the county did not go along with the cities. So when you're out, just like the guy over there talking about the lawnmowers being out in the county, there's nothing wrong with that at all. And if you want to have an Airbnb next door and you live on a road that's rural, nobody else out there, I don't see a problem with having an Airbnb out there, making the income that you can make off of it. It's free enterprise. So if it don't work for you and you don't like it, then rent it out yearly. Now, that being said, yearly rentals, you lose a lot of profit because you go in there and fix it up after you tear it up. It cheats you out of rent. But on this Airbnb, you watch it every night and clean it up every night, and you get good money off of it. So it goes back to free enterprise.
So, stated on the city Airbnb, they do have an ordinance that restricts that. The county ordinance does not, and I'm 100% for free enterprise like that. I'm also have 3 young children looking to reside here in Nelson County, and that does propose a problem. As a magistrate, it's not to get involved in creating restrictions for people to make a living, whether that's renting or Airbnb. It's actually to create opportunities. So our job would be to come up with the infrastructure that will allow developers to develop the land that would allow affordable housing for our young people. That's my job. And to understand the numbers of that, where to go, how to do it, and what to fund for that will be the decisions that I make going forward. And that will benefit. It's not going to benefit in January, but hopefully within 1, 2, and 3 years, because we have a short time before these EV plants come to Glendale, and people are going to want to reside here and going to find out they can't because we didn't, in the past administration, create enough infrastructure for this to happen. And it's not pointing any fingers, it just didn't happen. So the new administration will need to tackle that immediately. We don't have a lot of time to waste because, like I said, within 5 to 6 years, when I give you statistics out of Elizabethtown, currently 35,000 population. Just 2 weeks ago, we had a meeting with the Motor Police. The population in 6 years is estimated to be 98,000, just in the city of Elizabethtown. So whether you want it or not, these people are going to be all over us, and they're going to drive from E-Town to come to Bardstown. I do the trip every day to E-Town, to Loretto. You're going to want to live in Nelson County. You're going to want to live in a good community that has affordable housing.
I want to touch on Glendale also. It's going to be a $238 million investment, TJ Patterson Industrial Park. And of course they have abatements too of about $1 million. The latte is going to create 122 jobs in E-Town. The aluminum foil factory is the first in the United States to begin since 2005. There's a 100,000 square foot high-tech plant in 2 phases start construction in the late fall. Blue Oval SK in Glendale to produce batteries for Ford electric cars. It is a 631-acre campus in Glendale. It will house 2 4 million square foot facilities, over 2 dozen auxiliary buildings, including a regional education center on site. It's a $5.8 billion investment towards Blue Oval SK in Glendale. Now, we're going to get that fallout from Glendale. I'm sorry.
Bill Shuffle. Barbara, you have to hold your hand up higher. He doesn't ever believe me. No, seriously,
First
seriously.
of all, I want
Hold your hand
to
up higher.
apologize for not being able to get to all the debates between the fiscal court and the county judge race. As a current city council member, and hopefully through this election I may continue to be a current city council member, fiscal court's going to change. At least half the fiscal court is going to be different than it is currently. Now, what is your all's mindset on working together with projects that jointly will be with the city as far as water supplies, recreation, and industrial development that we have to do jointly as a city-county operation to take on all the challenges that you all have just mentioned about the influx of people, the influx of industry, and everything else that's going to come into the city. I'd like to know your mindset on how you go about working jointly with the city, because it can't be an all-city project, and it can't be an all-county project.
My first word is exciting. I can't wait to hit the ground running. I have a lifetime of working with people in multitudes of different aspects and getting things done and getting results. And knowing that the county can't do any of what you just said, as far as we're not in the business of the water and the sewage, but we need it. And so it's imperative that they work together and that you find somebody who's not combative, who understands, who can be a strong leader and have a strong backbone, who can stand up, and voice their opinion without feeling the consequences, and understanding of those who have better ideas, and taking lead from that and running and pushing to be an advocate for our county as a whole and our city. It's vital to our success. It's imperative that we do it together, and if we don't, then we will be divided and fall. And our taxpayers and our Nelson County will be the ones who would suffer the most in that. So my first and my mindset of that is you're going to need on the city council as well. You look for strong leaders, you look for smart people, you look for people that can do the things that you need to get done and make things happen. I feel like I'm that person. I'm excited for that opportunity, and I hope I get that opportunity.
I don't want to just talk about it, I want to be about it, okay? I've been preaching it. I think city and county has to work together. Now, I don't know if everybody knows that the city has a fire department, of course, and it's got 3 shifts. The county has a fire department, so they're separate. It has 1 shift. Now, let's say you get a fire out of the county. There's only 1 shift. After that first shift, it's all volunteer. And it depends on who's going to make the run, if anybody makes the run. So I think, and I don't think I've ever heard this about merging, but I like the idea of merging back as 1 department. I think it creates a lot of, we're talking about safety issues, and that's what the magistrate's about. Safety, and it's probably not the only one I want to see merged, but that's a big topic for me, is the fire department. EMS is another one. I don't know if people know this or not, but the EMS is county run, county subsidized. For some reason, I know there's laws and regulations and reasons why the city of Bardstown does not contribute a dime to the EMS. Although the calls come from the city, they come from the county, but I think they should contribute
something to it, and also to the jail. They don't contribute to the jail either. The city doesn't, but they got some inmates that live in the city as well as in the county. So I definitely want to work with the city on a lot of issues.
Tanya Figueroa.
Okay, so obviously I'm a little biased, and I've sat through several of these over the last few days, and I have been reserved to not ask questions. And I'm a little calmer than when I got up to sound the list to ask the question. But I have a few clarifying questions. If it applies to you, answer it. If it doesn't, you can skip it, and then it leads to a specific question for both candidates. So earlier this evening, I heard 3 things referenced that were very concerning to me. My understanding was that law enforcement chooses their profession, so they should accept the pay. That's what I understood. And they should consider maybe working a second job to supplement their pay. The other part of that is, have you verified your pay scale comparison? If it's the same one that Dean Watts put out, CLEP money is listed in Nelson counties and not in any of the other agencies. So leading into my question, many candidates over the last several days have stated that we can't give law enforcement a raise because then we have to give all the other county employees a raise. 135, 170, I've heard lots of different numbers. What I would like to hear you all answer is how you would determine by job type and pay and do the legwork and research is give the raise to the people who are not paid according to the surrounding counties. We shouldn't necessarily give a raise to every single person if we make $10 more an hour in landfill. We should make the changes. Well, that's my opinion. Tell me how you would address those issues.
Well, I don't want to step on anybody's toes, but I worked at Fuji-Seal, and we were a union company, and we were one for all for one, basically. So it's a little different type of job, but they're all pretty hazardous. Our pay scale was based on your job rating. It was based on percentage. Of course, a lot of that money coming out of there was union dues, and we kind of set the presence for Nelson County, actually, for the money that you make per hour. It was one of the highest paying jobs in Nelson County. So what I mean by that is, choosing your profession, I wouldn't be a sheriff or a police officer for $100 an hour. It's not even. I wouldn't want to do it. But when I said choose a profession, what I meant by it, if you know, and we tell people, say it at Fuji-Seal, if you're an electrician, you went to school to be an electrician, they were making $30 an hour. We had people on the press making $30 an hour. But they knew when they came there what they were going to be making. I'm not saying that to be malicious or anything, but I know a lot of police officers that cannot make a living on one job. And if you know a few of them that do side jobs, other jobs just to make a living. I agree with that. So the pay scale is probably lopsided and, protect, we're talking about serving and protecting the people in Nelson County, then maybe there's an issue with the pay scale. It's something I'd definitely like to look at without going by just these numbers and then going by the sheriff's numbers and comparing them.
The pay is a very sensitive subject in any business, and when you talk about the county business, it's definitely sensitive, and it's going to get more sensitive, strictly because of the retirement program is not there to fall back on it to use as a crutch. So the solution to that is the same solutions that I fight every single day. I have a wide range of employees from entry level to skilled positions, to driver's positions, to salespeople, all different ones. And every position is unique. And how I make sure those are competitive is I do my research. Just like sheriff will do his research and making sure that he probably has 3, 4 different levels of pay. And we need to make sure that if 1, 2, or 3, or 4, or whatever number that is, that's fell behind for whatever reason that's in our program, we need to have those target rates and bring them up to speed. But that's going to take some cooperation from the sheriff to the court. It's going to take some education, and it's going to take a whole lot of compromise on both sides to make that happen. It doesn't mean that everybody for the county starts to make $35 an hour January 1. We all know that's impossible. They use that, a lot of magistrates do use that. Everybody will need a raise. No, I'm not saying they don't need a raise. They may not need the significant. If you're using target raises to bring individual jobs up to the comparable match, then that's what that job's worth. And if other people want that job, please apply for it. And that's what it's done in the private sector. And that's what it's done. It's not a union where if you show up and you're there, because when they signed up, they knew they were going to get the 3% and the 4%, 2.7s raises. And over a 20, 25, 27-year span, you're able to retire. That's not the case with us anymore. So we need to sit down and get this right.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. Before we do closing, I've been asked to make an announcement. Our Commonwealth group is having a political forum for, I believe, the county PDA, county jailer, and the county judge executive tomorrow night at Bardstown High School, 6 p.m. Also, I want to mention that on October 6th, we will be having the Nelson County School Board debate. So far, there's only been one candidate that has outright refused to come, and that is Adam Gosson. He's refusing to come. So we do appreciate the candidates that do come out and put themselves before the public, because it is important. So gentlemen, if you guys want to start your closings, do you want to do it in reverse order or have another flip?
Can I speak about the abatements, the liquid tax?
You can do it in your closing.
I can do it right now.
Go ahead, start.
Okay.
Yeah.
We talked about the abatements on the liquor tax, and I just want to, on these IRBs, industrial revenue bonds, a lot of that money, you gotta understand, is gonna go back to real estate on the roll, the tax roll, okay? So it's not gonna be a total loss. But just for instance, I wanna give you what our county is gonna lose if it happens in a year. And the Nelson County Public Schools will lose $4,854,000. That's $4,854,000. The Bardstown City Schools will be $2,063,000. Nelson County Library will be $280,000. Nelson County Extension Office, $93,000. Nelson County Government, which is fiscal court, will be $1,156,000. That's $1,156,000. The City of Bardstown Government will be $205,000. So just kind of give you a rundown of where that money's, you're going to lose it. And then in closing, I guess I'm ready to close.
Yeah.
Okay, in closing, I would like to thank the people in District 3 that allowed me to put a sign up in their yard. I'll remove it on the 9th of November. I promise I will pick them up. I've listened to all the other candidates, and it sounds like that they have other jobs, and I wonder how they will be a full-time magistrate. I am retired, and every day for me is a Saturday. If the people in District 3 would vote for me and allow me to represent them, just allow me the chance, I will prove to you that I will be available at all times. And that's my closing.
I want to thank Don and Kenny for hosting tonight. Thank everybody for coming. Also want to thank all the people that allowed me to put signs in the yards and coming outside and sitting on their porches and discussing the issues. I want to thank all the employees that I have. I am very busy. I do have 2 businesses, and we all have 24 hours. I make time for each one of my children. I make time for my wife. I make time for my brother. I make time for my mom and dad. I will make time for every Nelson County that has an issue. And I will do it with the intent and 100% of my energy that I bring. And nobody in here besides my wife has ever seen that. And I promise it's second to none. Also, remember you're electing a good steward for your money to a financial position, a business position, to make decisions when and where and how we spend our tax dollars. Had a conversation with a farmer out on Boston area, and I had the same discussion about time, and he asked me the same thing, and I gave him the same answer. He looked me dead in the eyes, he said, my dad said to me when I turned 18, he said, son, if someone doesn't really work hard for themselves, do you really think they're going to work hard for you? And that stuck with me, and it was very important for me to hear that, because I do work hard for myself, but I will work equally hard for you. I am the right person at the right time for all the right reasons. I want to thank you, and God bless Nelson County.
Thank both of you gentlemen for coming out. I appreciate it. Putting yourself out here before public elections is always kind of scary for a candidate, but you know, it shows a lot of character and class for both of you guys to do that, and I do appreciate it, and I'm sure the people do too. Thank you.
On October 6th, I've got a meeting that night, so I'm over there. Well, I appreciate your opportunity. Like I said, you know, I love to help you out. You did a great job. You did a great public service.